Coming in hot with the savior of teams herself, Puppet. We're going to be going over this character who is an absolute stellar unit, whether she is helping you out in general with her overall amazing defense, the buff she just gives from her attribute sharing in general, or just pretty much anything you really want her to do. She's absolutely insane in any defensive team or any team that you want to actually be sustaining. She will make it happen. So of course, today's video, we're going to go over her best sets and everything of that nature. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. All right, so first things first, we're going to be looking at the character. Should we dupe this unit? So we're going to take a look at her passives and everything like that. And I have to straight up say, for a 4-star in general, she's absolutely insane. She was already good when she didn't have too many dupes, but just getting this character duped in general, you change your gameplay a lot. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look into her awarenesses, in which I do have her maxed out. This character is definitely a 4-star you want to go ahead and look at. So if we take a look at the first little awareness here, in which this is machine translated first, it's actually different things here. I do have the official translations beside me, so you guys are able to know exactly what she's able to do. So this character in general, coming down to the actual passives that we're going to look at, with her a 0, she's pretty much able to give you a shield, and every time you grant a shield, she stacks a C guard. What this is pretty much with C guard is pretty much a buff that gives you a certain amount of stacks, which can increase defense, attack, defense even more so, and more attack, and it just all in all depends on how many C guards she has stacked. Now this can be stacked up to a maximum of 6, so you can get yourself a nice amount of at least buffs off of this, and it does also scale with her level. So if you're at level 1, you're able to get, like, let's say we have 6 C guards on your character, right? Which gives you a defense stack. What that ends up doing is at level 1, you get 12% defense. At level 50, you can get yourself 18%, and then at level 70, you'll get yourself a whopping 24%, which is what you can see down here. Really good, to be honest, and it does scale depending on how many C guards you do have on this character, but that's just for the A0. Now checking out the A1, which actually helps you out a lot more. Pretty much when you start, you get one C guard to start off rip, which is absolutely insane. Now it's kind of weird to see this because normally you would have to, of course, stack these C guards, but luckily, just like kind of the other Navis work, once you get this first one here, you're able to give yourself one at the beginning of the game. And this happens for all your companions. So everyone will get one C guard. Of course, once you get to the 3, things change up a little bit. Pretty much whenever a person's HP is a little bit lower than like the 30% value, you're able to get yourself a shield. Now this shield is the epitome of a lifesaver. You don't know how many times I've been saved by this, in which the shield will actually be a 28% of Puppet's defense, as well as a little bit extra of her base stats, which I think it was like 660, I think 640, it was something around that, in which will happen for 2 turns. Now this can only be triggered once, so once for a character for 2 turns, but it does come in handy. Just for A3, which is on a 4-star, this is really helpful. Alongside of this, of course, her 5 and 6 are where we really want to take a look at. 5 is pretty much whenever she uses her highlight, she will grant a shield that's 16%. That also is based off her defense a little bit as well for 2 turns. But her 6th one is where things get a little bit spicy. Pretty much by getting this character, their 6th dupe here, she's able to maximize the C guard at all times, increasing it to 8. So instead of having 2, 4, 6 for your buffs, you're actually able to increase this to 8 C guards when obtained, and able to increase the damage dealt with all your allies once 8 C guards are obtained. This gives you a 20% attack buff, which is actually insane, making this character be able to shield you. You're able to get yourself some attack like crazy, and it's just all in all amazing to have. So without further ado, or at least without a doubt, you want to dupe up this character, and she makes it known that she's a really good character and belongs where she belongs. But now that we've covered, or at least went over her passives, let's go ahead and go over the skill priority. All right, so taking a look at this character's skill priorities, off rip, we're going to immediately look at the skill 1, which is the Song of No Worries, or the actual translation being it called Song of Peace. This is a 8-turn thing, or 8 preparation time action, in which gives you a really nice shield for pretty much downright nothing here. You get a 28% of Puppet's defense in general with some base stats added in. That goes over your entire team. But not only alone with this, you're able to also get yourself some SP back, being only 4 energy, which may not sound like much, but it's actually a pretty decent amount, especially when you're really using this a lot and you're going to be utilizing this skill a lot. Now, alongside with this in mind, of course, when the shield does break, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys saw how weak my shield is, pretty much whenever that shield does break, you're able to actually lower down your cooldown by at least 1 action. So whenever you do have her, or let's say you've used her already, and your shield breaks immediately, right? Her preparation time is now decreased, so she's able to come back up to the plate really quick and pretty much get in another prep time move anytime you wish. This is really making her ultra good, to be honest, and I would definitely suggest trying to get up this skill up first. It's going to be your bread and butter, and you really want to utilize this. And the next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is her skill 3, which is called Dawn's Bubble. This is a 12 action one, which is mainly going to be your big boy buff central type deal, right? You're going to get a huge shield off of this, which is going to all allies. It should be about, I think, 32%. Let me go ahead and make sure. It's like 32, 33, something like this, right? In which you're able to get yourself defense here. And with this, it's going to also scale off the number of sea guards, because with the number of sea guards, it will furtherly strengthen this or give you an attack buff, which can last for 3 different turns. Now, of course, when an ally has 4 or more sea guards with this on, you're actually able to do a different effect. This effect allows you to actually increase your defense, or at least increase your attack, which is going to be by 1.9% for 3 whole turns. Now, when this actually does break, because the shield can break, of course, so when it does decide to break or it expires, you'll end up losing 2 shield guards or sea guards. But I mean, it's nothing too bad, especially when you have a lot of these and you're able to retain these guys. And then, to be honest, it can actually be utilized in a good way, because when she comes back up to the plate, so let's say you're using the skill 1 once again, you're able to get yourself a really nice shield or buff in general based on the amount of sea guards you do have. So losing those 2 sea guards isn't really the end of the world when you do think about it. But this is definitely a skill you want to go ahead and actually upgrade immediately. Lastly, coming down to this skill, which is going to be the skill 2, aka Symphonic Dance or Dance of Convergence. This skill is not really that bad either. It's actually a really good skill, to be honest. It's one of the ones I'm actually lacking on because I'm working on other characters, so I'm kind of out of these bad boys right here. But this is one of the few skills that I can say you can deal without. You would more or less use this if you only want to guard one character, or if you're really focusing on the defense of one character. So let's say like you really want to beef up your Yusuke, you would use this as long as the rest of your team, you know for a fact, are perfectly fine and you don't need to guard these guys. You get a decent buff off of this just by getting your defense up, but you also can at least knock down the enemy pretty dang nicely as well by having down some good things. Now, of course, whoever gets this on them, or at least Dance of Convergence on them, you will actually get knockdown resistance for at least 2 sea guard as well is going to be retained back. And it's actually pretty darn good, because that means they're not going to be able to get knocked down whatsoever. So even if they do get hit by a weakness, they're going to be pretty tanky enough to make sure they're not going to get knocked down in general, so it won't really mess up your plans. So this is like the last thing you want to really get up, but it's pretty darn good. So in order, if you want to go ahead and boost this in order, go ahead and go for a Song of the Warriors or Song of Peace. You want to go with Bubbles of Dawn, or Dawn's Bubble if you have the weird machine translation like I do. And then you want to go with Dance of Convergence, or Symphonic Dance is what it's called with the machine translation. Those should be your things to go for, and it definitely makes a difference in our gameplay. But now that we've went over at least the skill priority, let's go ahead and go into her weapon options. Now, checking out her weapon options is one of the things I'm still freaking missing, and that is going to be Echo's Barrier, or what it's actually called here, Sea Sonar. Now, this is the 4-star weapon. It's really good. Actually, it helps out her shield in general. Pretty much all you got to know about this is you get yourself a decent shield effect bonus, which is really nice. It can actually get up to a 16%, but I have not duped out this weapon for obvious reasons, because I'm planning to try and get her 5-star probably actually very soon. Most likely gonna go to OI and try to like exchange it on out, but her 5-star weapon is what you really want to get. Her 4-star weapon is really nice. It does help you with the shield side of things too, because you do get an increase in your shield, at least shield build up, which is really nice. But the 5-star is absolute insanity. So if we go ahead and take a look at the banner here, in which I have it once again as one of my wishlist weapons because it's been avoiding me for ages. This weapon is crazy. It's probably the best weapon in the game, and I believe I said this on my weapon tier list as well, where this weapon increases your defense just by it being at no dupes whatsoever by 45%. Now with this, of course, whatever she uses a skill on with this, you will end up getting a C guard buff, or at least an additional C guard buff. So you're already getting 1 or 2 if you have her actually duped up, but with this you're able to get an additional one. Now each one that you get, of course, with this, you will actually increase your allies, like the main ally that you're buffing, really, attack and defense by at least 3 to 6% for 2 whole turns. This is actually kind of cracked. It's really busted. It's one of the few weapons that I would suggest, no matter what you're doing, try to get your hands on it, because it makes such a huge difference. Now I've been trying my hardest to get this without actually having to select it, but it looks like it's about time that I'm gonna have to select this dang weapon, because it has not came home in ages. Of course, if you don't have the weapon, no biggie, you can definitely easily do this whole game without it. It is not a necessity, but it is very good to have. It does make a huge gameplay change with her gameplay in general, and will help out your overall team. Can't wait to try it out once I do get it, because my Yusuke is begging for more of these buffs. So without further ado, this is an amazing weapon. So if you got it, make sure to use it as much as possible. But now that we went over the weapon options, let's go ahead and take a look at her best gear sets and things of that nature. All right, so taking a look at her best gear set here, she is definitely one of the few characters that I am lacking severely in. As you guys can kind of see, my stats are not the best with this character whatsoever, but of course she gets the job done. She keeps us pretty shielded, and it's really all you need when it does come down to this character. So with the set that you're going to want to go ahead and run, it's going to be called the Peace set, or like, I think it is still called Peace in the official translator if I'm right, but like the Peace set, which looks somewhat like this, its reason being is because it increases your defense by 20% off rip, and then alongside of this you're also able to get a shield effect for having the 4-piece by 18%. Now with this in mind, having the Faith actual thing here as well will end up helping you a lot when just maximizing your shield in general and overall buffs in general. With this in mind, you're able to actually stack this as well, having the effect last even longer, which is really nice, and also getting a better effect increase as well. Instead of being a 7%, you can get that all the way up to a 21%. Find that really nice. It's a really good overall set, and I feel like these two will really go hand in hand. Now, depending on how you want to build your puppet, you can build her more DPS related, you can build her more just like, I guess you say sustain related. Both of them do really well. Now currently I'm trying to build mine into a little bit of, I want to say it's the main DPS main DPS type of deal here, because how I have her set up is we're mainly going for the defense type little actual stats here, while also having some crit damage to actually help out my main character. This needs to get replaced. Only reason it's on her right now is because it has a defense main stat, which is what you want to have. When it comes to your main stat for your star, it's best to go ahead and try to get crit rate or crit damage, especially if you're really trying to help out your main character. If you just want overall defense help, or at least your whole team being sustained, go with a defense percentage, but I would highly recommend a crit rate or crit damage piece here. And then going with your Saturn one here, I would highly recommend going with the defense percentage. Now you could very well use something else, but this is probably the best thing that you want to go for, because you're also able to build up your shields pretty nicely, while also giving you some nice things to go on your full-on main character builds. Substat wise, crit rate, crit damage, I think HP if every now and again is a little okay, Once again, since she is sharing these attributes or these stats with the rest of her team, HP isn't really the roughest thing, but the main things you want to go for is like crit rate, crit damage, defense, or attack. Those are going to be your main things. Of course, defense and attack depends on if you really want to make an attack related team with Puppet, or you go with defense rate and go with the sustain related team with Puppet. Now, if you're using Yusuke, you better be going with a sustain related team, because the more defense, the better. But of course, this is only up to you. She has several different ways to run her, but those are going to be the best ways to really get around it. So now that we went around with her best gear sets, let's go over her best team comps. Okay, so best team comps with this character are fairly interesting. I don't have all the actual personas when it does come down to Wonder himself, but the ones I've been kind of rocking is anything with King Crosshair and having at least some high defense type units. That's really going to be her deal. It's really going to be helping any of her teams because she is mainly buffing defenders. So any character that scales off defense or anything that really is needed for defense is what she's going to be rocking with. But when it comes down to her best teams, our main one, you guys are already looking at it. This is something you could very well so use. Rin technically can be out of this team because technically wise, you want to go ahead and use like Mont to have the mono frost team here, or nearly mono frost team because Yuki is just here. Let's call her an honorary frost totally. But pretty much a mono frost team here. And then with Soy here, you can also use to make sure you have another defense shred. But if you're anything like me, I would use Rin mainly because Rin's defense shred is crazier. If you're not using the curse team fully, I would definitely be this team that you would try to use with her. Another team you could possibly go ahead and use, or at least utilize to your what's it called, to the best of your capabilities, is use the man Leo. I mean, he's all right. When I last tried this, it's okay, but this team I would definitely say is the worst out of the deals, right? You can use Ryuji with this and things like that. I would advise definitely keeping Wonder as a defender if you're going to do this, because no matter what happens, you need to keep your team alive. Wonder having as much defense as possible is going to make this really possible, as well as having Puppet here to keep everyone sustained as well is going to be really nice. But those are going to be the main teams. I would highly suggest, if you're going to use Puppet whatsoever, this would be the team to rock. If anything, you could go ahead and swap this out once again for Mont, or you can swap this out for Soy. Personally, I say Soy and goddamn Rin are your best choices because you want to keep that defense shred in your team. But that's just what I'm saying. But without further ado, you guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do smash that like button, which for hey, consider subscribing. If you are new, we're doing daily videos like this, and I'm going to keep on going. Now, we do have a couple build guides coming up later on, so look forward to that. And I'm gonna just go ahead and continue grinding because I got a lot of energy drinks to burn, and oh boy, we gonna get busy today. But peace out.